Hello and welcome to Cinema Showdown 2018. I'll be your host, Nathan Orenstein with The No Show. Let's meet this episode's contenders. First, we have Green Book, the Best Picture winner from the 2019 Academy Awards. Green Book is inspired by the true story of black pianist Don Shirley's tour through the Deep South with Italian bodyguard and driver Frank Villalonga in 1962. It focuses on the unlikely friendship that developed between the two, as well as the racism that was especially prevalent in the Deep South during this time. Next is Roma, which was considered to be the favorite going into Oscars night. Roma is a slice-of-life film set in Mexico in 1970 that follows the life of a live-in housekeeper and her relationship with the family she works for, her lover, and her friends. It's notably shot in black and white and is in Spanish. Finally, we have The Favorite. The Favorite is a black comedy that takes place in 18th century Britain and is about two cousins who fight to be the court favorite of the Queen. Now that the contenders have been introduced, let's get into this showdown, starting with Best Direction. The winner for Best Director went to Alfonso Cuarón for Roma, and I really can't argue with the Oscars for this decision. Roma is by definition a slice-of-life film, but it really genuinely feels like you're watching a normal person live their life. And Cuarón's direction just provides a real sense of coziness for this film, and his decision to shoot on location really helps to establish this. But as warm and comforting as Roma is, it also has a sense of being vast and universal, and Cuarón really uses empty space in his scenes to establish a mood that goes beyond the script. And also his decision to use relatively inexperienced actors in his roles really reflects the sense of realness and naturalness that you don't typically get with a movie like this. Roma is excellently directed, and it gets the top spot. And second is Yorgos Lanthimos with The Favorite, who is largely considered to be the runner-up in terms of betting odds. The direction of The Favorite could not be any more different than the direction of Roma. As with all his films, Lanthimos is constantly trying to make the audience feel like they're watching something that they really shouldn't be watching, or is otherwise just off-putting. And while The Favorite is definitely his most mainstream film to date, this attitude in his direction is still there for sure. He uses wide angles and weird situations to really throw the viewer off, and his choice to take anachronistic liberties with the creative direction of this film also was just strange. But it fits the black comedy nature of this film especially well, and it makes this dark script really pop. He also just has a lot of fun directing the character movements throughout the film, and every character's body language really helps to heighten the energy of each scene. So just because it didn't win the category, that doesn't mean The Favorite's direction is anything but great. Last is Green Book by Peter Farrelly, which is one of only 5 films in Oscars history to win Best Picture and not get nominated for Best Director. Farrelly is notably the director of comedies, such as Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin, and Something About Mary. So directing a film about racism in the Deep South feels like something that'd probably be out of his wheelhouse. And that's because it totally is. To put it bluntly, Farrelly has absolutely no idea what he's doing with the direction of this movie. The movie never knows if it wants to be serious or if it wants to be a comedy, so the serious moments kind of feel undercut and the funny moments feel out of place. It doesn't help that every single actor in this film is directed as if they're in a comedy movie, except for Mahershala Ali, who is definitely the focal point of the movie. Green Book just cannot nail a tone to save its life, and this largely feels like the fault of director Peter Farrelly. So Roma gets 3 points, The Favorite gets 2, and Green Book gets 1. Next is Best Screenplay, and let's just get Green Book out of the way since it was the winner and all, or whatever. Green Book's screenplay is awful. Frank Villalonga is written to be this racist Italian buffoon of a stereotype, and his character is insufferable. But then all of a sudden, like halfway through the movie, he's Don Shirley's biggest fan and best friend, and he's the white savior of the film. The movie literally just becomes a series of events where the duo go to a new city on the tour, something racist happens to Shirley, and Villalonga has to step in and save the day. Not only is this just an incredibly worn out and boring narrative structure, but it just feels antiquated. The dialogue is just so mind-numbingly dull too, and every scene is just hitting you over the head with the most basic racism is bad message you could possibly write. And yeah, Obviously, racism is bad, but this movie approaches the subject in just the worst, most whitewashed way imaginable. And it's written as if it's talking down to children, even though it's trying to be an adult movie. It just doesn't work. Green Book is in last on this category of Cinema Showdown, and it's a disgrace that it somehow won the Oscar. Whew. Now that that's over with, we can finally talk about the favorite, which is my pick for best screenplay of the bunch. As I said, this is a black comedy through and through, but it really manages to ride that thin line that most black comedy films fail to stick to. The dialogue is so good and sharp, and not only is every exchange entertaining, but it just feels important to the overall narrative. No scene is wasted here, and every single one of them is really good. The movie is essentially a struggle for power between these two cousins, and things get pretty twisted, but it stays hilarious the whole time. Not to mention Queen Anne, who is just a disgrace of a queen, and you can't help but feel bad for her, but laugh at her at the same time. Deborah Davis and Tony McNamara have crafted a rare, perfect black comedy, and it definitely should have won the Oscar in my opinion. That means in second place we have Roma. Roma is a film that is admittedly pretty simple and uneventful to start things off. This is a problem that a lot of slice of life movies have, and I was worried that Roma would be no different. But stick with it because things really start to peel back, and in the final act, the movie just butchers you emotionally. As I said earlier though, Roma just feels so natural, and the same can definitely be said about the story progression, character development, and the emotions on display here. The film really gets at the heart of what it means to be a family, to be in love, and to be dependent and independent at the same time. But it does so in a way that feels universal, but also very specific to these characters. It's a powerful story that's power comes from its rawness, and Cuarón's writing really flows with a natural beauty here. So 3 points for the favorite, 2 for Roma, and 1 for Green Book. I wish I could give it less. Finally, we're going to talk about the performances in each of these films, and honestly, they're all really great. But for me, the favorite has to be the winner here. This probably doesn't seem like much of a surprise since Olivia Colman, Emma Stone, and Rachel Weisz all received nominations for their work, and Olivia Colman even beat out the heavily favored Glenn Close. But the thing is, all 3 of these films have such highly talented lead actors and actresses, in fact, they basically all received nominations for their work, that it's going to come down to the supporting cast for who's going to come out on top in this category. And the favorite supporting cast is incredible. Every single actor in this movie genuinely feels like they're giving the performance of their career, no matter how big their role is. And I can't think of any greater praise than that to give a film's cast. And second, we've got Roma, which is headlined by a breakout performance by Yalitza Aparicio. And not only is this a breakout performance, it's her first and only performance ever. But that really captures the rawness and authenticity that Cuarón was going for with this character. She's just so good and natural in this role, and by the end, I don't understand how you couldn't love this character. Marina de Tavera also got nominated for her role as the mother of the household that Aparicio is the caretaker for. Her character is just so powerful, yet emotionally vulnerable, and her ability to switch between these two on a dime is truly impressive. The rest of the cast is good, though not amazing, and there are a few child performances that just don't meet the expectation that the rest of the movie sets. But overall, this cast is still great, and Roma is going to be coming in second. Finally, we have Green Book. The leads here are Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali, and honestly, they are both fantastic. As is probably evident from before, I could not stand Mortensen's character. But it's hard to deny how much he committed to this role and how great of a job he does of embodying this person. The standout here is Mahershala Ali, though, and he did get recognized with an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his performance. Don Shirley is just so sophisticated, talented, and smart, and Ali's mannerisms and way of speaking for this movie really capture that. But the best part of his performance are when Shirley is faced with the racism and discrimination of the Deep South, and how he has to kind of hold back his anger to maintain this high society image that he's created for himself. Unfortunately, the supporting cast is just not very good. As I said earlier, a lot of this can probably be attributed to Peter Farrelly's awful direction, but to put it simply, these performances just come nowhere close to stacking up with Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen. And while this is a high bar, they don't even come close to reaching it. So once again, we have 3 points for The Favorite, 2 for Roma, and 1 for Green Book. Our final score for Cinema Showdown 2018 is 8 points for The Favorite, 7 for Roma, and 3 for Green Book. So congratulations to The Favorite. Unlike last episode, this ranking actually does reflect how I feel about these films, with The Favorite and Roma destroying Green Book, and The Favorite barely edging out Roma. Seriously, how did Green Book win though? I don't get it. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, then feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. And I'd love to hear comments down below about whether you agree or disagree with my opinion. I've been Nathan Orenstein with The No Show. Thanks for watching.